crypto warriors, changing our world day by day. The way of the crypto warriors, can't rely on the bankers, no way.
Good morning, Bix Weir, Roota.com with your morning horn of Z's, your sip of chaga tea. Tea with a splash of raw milk. Yes, I am, as you can tell, I am disappearing before your very eyes. On the raw food cleanse. This is day 7. Those of you who haven't followed the Road to Roota for a while, my wife Amy, very healthy, invented this cleanse for Road to Roota members. Go to Raw 21 Reboot. If you want to do it, it's for free. 21 days. The first week is raw food. The second week is raw smoothies. And the third week is raw juices. Tells you everything about it. Great recipes. You don't lack for eating, at least in the first week. Smoothies get a little tougher. But when you think about it, why do you eat? You need the energy and the nutrients that's in the food. You don't need all the extra shit. You need the energy and the nutrients within the food to power your body, grow, and healthy body and all that. Well, if we went back to eating food, like real food, raw food, there's a lot of benefit. Now, I know there's a lot of arguments. Well, you need your protein. You can get protein from raw food. But for me, it's a reboot. And that's what Amy calls it, the Raw 21 Reboot. Is that it? Let's take a look at the website. Raw 21 Reboot. Yeah, the Raw Food Reboot. And this is her website, and it's all for free. So if you want to do it, go for it. How does it work? Is it for me? The goals: take control of your life and body, become more in tune with your body, positively change the way you look and feel about yourself, raise your vibration, feel amazing, belong to a community of like-minded individuals. She's got all kinds of support. And just read through this. It's really cool. Anyway, I'm disappearing. 7 days right now. I didn't weigh myself this morning, but yesterday I had lost 6 pounds, and 21 days. The reason I'm doing all this is because we are going on the road, and you have to be in shape to be on the road, and you got to be in sound mental health and physical health, and I think it's awesome. So you will see me disappear before your very eyes. All I need now is a haircut. Look at all that hair. Amy cuts my hair, and she says she likes it long. If I put the gel dippity-doo stuff in there. She said, just do that. I can't sleep with it. The hair is everywhere right now. So I'm going to beg for a trim today. Anyway, let's get on to something that I want to show everybody. Yesterday, I was hanging out on Jean-Claude's channel watching the Snippy and Litecoin Lisa discussion. And somebody asked a question. I answered it in the chat room. And Jean-Claude said, hey, come on board, Bix. And I jumped on with them. Really great discussion with Jean-Claude at Jean-Claude Beyond Mystic 3 with Litecoin Lisa, Snippy, and myself and JC. What we're talking about is coins. The difference between coins and Federal Reserve notes and derivatives and cryptos and all the differences and what we might move to. We all know the old system is dying. The old system was built to die. And that has increased substantially over the last, I'd say, 22 years since Alan Greenspan forced the deregulation of derivatives, knowing it would destroy the banking cabal. That's the Road to Roota theory. Believe it all you want or not. I've proven it 100 times, and you can go to the roadtoroota.com website. The first 2 videos right there. Let's take a look at it, actually. If you look at on the website, the latest video is right on the top. What do we got? Hold on. And then these 2 videos, the secrets of the Fed, and then golden oldies to a crypto future. Go check those out. And they'll blow your mind. It changes everything you know about money. And about, like J. Edward Griffith's book, The Creature of Jekyll Island. Amazing research. And I read that book, and it's hell of long. But I was intrigued by the people who did it. There's only one thing G. Edward Griffith missed in his whole book, and that was the reason why. Why did these bankers get together? Why did Woodrow Wilson approve the Federal Reserve System when he hated bankers? G. Edward Griffith's take was he didn't really make a take. He was a great reporter. Everybody just assumes it was fear or he was in with the bad guys. But there's much bigger things going on behind the scenes of why did they have to meet at Jekyll Island? What was it that was going on that scared these billionaire bankers to death, to destruction? And that was the gold in the Grand Canyon. Billions and billions and billions of ounces of gold were found in the Grand Canyon. More gold than the world had ever seen. And that was the problem that Woodrow Wilson basically succumbed to what the bankers said, here's our solution. Imagine yourself in the early 1900s, there's only about 125 million ounces of gold in the United States circulating as money. And remember, gold and silver were money. Now, silver was money. Gold was a derivative of the U.S. money, which was silver still. And it is still today. Silver is the defined constitutional money of the United States of America. And we talk about this. Anyway, Woodrow Wilson, go watch those videos. Woodrow Wilson had no choice. And then ever since the invention of the Fed, the idea is to print as much money as possible so you can have all the benefits of unbacked fiat money until you just blow it all up. And that's where we're headed. No country in the history of the world has ever paid off their debt. So if you ever hear anybody, you don't even hear it anymore. If you ever hear any country or politician saying, we have to get our debt in order. We have to get the balance sheet in order. Bullshit. They are lying. They are lying through their teeth. That is not the solution. And they know it. The solution is to kick the can and blow the amount of debt in the world into infinity. And that's what is being done right now. The Fed is not telling us what they're printing anymore. They stopped doing that. I was really up on what the bankers were doing with the repo. I tracked their repo transactions every day in the repo debacle in 2019. And I'll get to that in a second. But then I gave up. When I hit $1 trillion, I gave up. I said, they're doing infinity money and just not reporting it also. Besides the $1 trillion, we're at infinity money. And that's what Roota wrote in the sand. Anyway, we talk about coinage. Will coinage come back? And it's a good discussion. What is money in the United States of America? Our constitutional money can only be minted by the U.S. Mint. It can only be made by the U.S. Mint. Federal Reserve note is just that, an IOU. And when the banks crash because of the derivative bubble, you will see all those Federal Reserve notes go by the wayside. Bye-bye. And what's left? These paper bill IOUs from the Federal Reserve, who is defunct at that point, and the coinage of the United States of America. Yes, just your normal pennies, quarters, nickels, dimes. And Lisa has a friend who's in the banking industry, and they are working on coin ATMs, where you'll get literally a roll of coins out of the ATM. And it seems to a lot of people like we're going back in time. But in reality, when trust and faith are lost, you have to go back to what you trust. And that's coinage of the United States of America, if you're an American citizen. Now, we talk about the new Silver Eagles versus the old Silver Eagles. We all had our own theory of why they were doing it. And what they're doing is, in 2020, the American Silver Eagle program was halted so that they can make a new Silver Eagle with a harder to counterfeit Silver Eagle, which was crazy. Unless they embedded some chip in, which I don't think they did. Because all they did was take a little notch out of the bottom of it. I don't have one here. Out of the bottom of the Silver Eagle around the rim, they just took a little notch. That's their anti-counterfeit measure. And then on the back, they changed the eagle from standing to flying or flying to standing. I don't remember what it was. It looks pretty much exactly the same. But why? Why did they do it? There had to be a reason to do it in the middle of a year. So we get into that a little bit. And then the reasons on the table right now between us. One, signifying some kind of changeover in the monetary system happened last year. It already happened. They just didn't tell us about it. And now you have these new silver eagles that aren't the same, won't be as valued the same as the old silver eagles. But that's not it. Silver eagles aren't valued because they have a stamp of the U.S. government on them. They are valued because it's got 999 silver in it that you can rely on. So if you do a notch in it, does it really matter? And it's for anti-counterfeiting, it's the exact opposite of what they should have done. All they did was take a little notch out of the bottom rim of the coin for anti-counterfeiting. Well, I can take my file and do the same thing with a 2002 coin. Or, any of the American Eagle coins. Just take a little notch out of them. That's all they did. Besides change what the eagle was doing. Unless Jean-Claude kind of hinted at it, and I had thought about this for a while, Cliff High says there's a difference between the types of silver, and we're going to really need one type of silver on the industrial side. One kind of silver isotope. Maybe, and I don't know how this would be done, but maybe what they're doing is purifying or extracting that special part of silver from the silver that's being minted, extracting it to get that part of the silver that will be used in Cliff High's sci-fi world. And it might be that. Because then they can identify, the pre-2022 Silver Eagles still have some of that special isotope in it. The post-2022 do not. Those have already been clarified. That's one possibility. There's a million different possibilities. Would we go back to a silver standard? I don't know. Again, it gets back to, it's not back to a silver standard, by the way. We are still on a silver constitutional dollar. That has never gone away. Here's a great article. It's an old one I've read a million times. The Mises article, Daily Articles, the constitutional dollar, that talks about we've never left the U.S. dollar, the definition of a U.S. dollar. They just created something separate, completely unconstitutional. And here is the definition of it was a great article, and it talks about Pieces of Eight, which is a 2-volume book by Edwin Vieira Jr., and the Gata Boys talk about this all the time. It talks about what is money? What is the U.S. dollar as defined by our Constitution? So many things have gone wayside on the Constitution, but if we do have to go back, if these bankers collapse, and we do want to go back to something, what do we have? And Edward Vieira this has always been our money. It's still our money today. It says, in his meticulously researched 2-volume work, Pieces of Eight, constitutional lawyer Edwin Vieira Jr. shows beyond any doubt that the constitutional dollar of the United States is an, quote, historically determinate fixed weight of fine silver. The Coinage Act of 1792 is but one source among many that makes this evident. Reading, quote, the money of account of the United States shall be expressed in dollars or units of the mass of weight of a Spanish milled dollar, as the same is now current, and to contain 371 grains and 4/16 part of a grain of pure silver. That is the definition of a dollar in the United States of America in 1792 and today. Nothing has been changed constitutionally to change that. And that's why they can't put a U.S. dollar on a Federal Reserve note. It says a Federal Reserve note, which is an IOU for a U.S. dollar. Means you have counterparty risk. The banks fail. Who owns the banks? The banksters. JP Morgan's on the board, runs the board of the Fed, basically. Yes, the same criminal banker that has had, 3 felonies now, and $36 billion in fines paid to stay out of jail, payola type money over the last 20 years. That's the guy who runs the Federal Reserve right now. It's not Jerome Powell. Jerome Powell, on the other hand, let's talk about Jerome Powell. Who is Jerome Powell? Jerome Powell the head of the Federal Reserve System, who was he before? The amazing thing is his track record and his list of criminal accomplishments in the banking world really was highlighted in the early 1990s, where he orchestrated a bailout of Bankers Trust, a big criminal U.S. bank that had massive amount of derivatives. He orchestrated the sale to none other than Deutsche Bank. Might have been in the late 90s, but it was in the 90s. That's why Deutsche Bank had the problems. All those derivatives went bad, went really bad. And that's why you kept hearing about Deutsche Bank, besides other criminality that they had. But Jerome Powell was the guy who facilitated that transfer of the toxic derivatives from Bankers Trust over to the more lenient Deutsche Bank, working out of the German criminal operation. And then that's why Jerome Powell was brought in as head of the Fed, because he knew that entity was going to blow up. They knew Deutsche Bank was going to blow up. I was screaming about it in 2019, and that is exactly what happened, and that's exactly who Jerome Powell bailed out. Great article, Wall Street on Parade, called "These Charts Are Smoking Guns on the Fed's 2019-2020 Emergency Repo Loan Bailouts." 9 days ago, the Fed released the names of the Wall Street trading houses that had borrowed a cumulative of $4.5 trillion in emergency repo loans from the Fed during the last quarter of 2019. From September 17th, 2019 to July, what was I screaming in 2019? It's all about 9/11. It's all about 9/11. I think it fell on a Saturday. And then I said the ramifications will be felt, and then it kicked in. From September 17th, 2019 to July 2nd, 2020, the same banks had borrowed a cumulative total of $11.23 trillion. Remember, the bailout in 2008 was only $700 billion. That was approved by Congress. This is not approved by Congress, but is a bailout of $11.23 trillion. The Fed is slowly doling out the names of the banks and specific amounts borrowed on a quarterly basis after 8 quarters of time has elapsed, which they are required to by law. The Fed is only releasing the information because the Dodd-Frank financial reform legislation of 2010 made it a legal obligation for the Fed to do so. The Fed had fought a multi-year court battle with the press after the 2008 financial crisis to keep its secret bailouts to Wall Street hidden from the American people. Strange as it may seem, the same press outlets that battled the Fed in court following the 2008 financial crisis to get the names of the banks and amounts borrowed have this time around invoked a total news blackout on publishing names of the banks. One of the large borrowers under the 2019-2020 Fed facility was not even a U.S. bank. On October 8, 2019, the Fed conducted a one-day overnight repo loan operation offering $37.5 billion Deutsche Bank securities, a unit of giant German bank, took 2 lots totaling $7.5 billion. On the same day, Deutsche Bank securities took another $3 billion of a 14-day term repo offered by the Fed, bringing the total borrowing from the Fed on just that one day to $11.5 billion. There you go. That is exactly why Jerome Powell was put where he was. Jerome Powell had to lead the Fed to bail out Deutsche Bank, a foreign bank, because he had sold Deutsche Bank the derivatives from Bankers Trust back in the 90s. And a lot of these are silver, by the way. So go check out that article. Great website, Wall Street on Parade. You don't hear much in the news media about any of this, but that's exactly what happened. And yes, in 2019, a bailout that was, I expected it to be $20 billion. But they're saying it was 11. Actually, that's only that quarter. So the rest of the year, as each quarter happens, the Fed has to give out more information. I had stopped counting at $1 trillion. $1 trillion is where I stopped counting, which is insane. All right, back to coins and money. Knowing that, and this hasn't ended, by the way. This is all still in play. back to coins as money, I want to go back to January 1st, 2007. That's the day, the very day, yes, it was New Year's Day, that I discovered the Road to Roota documents. It was posted at Federal Reserve Bank of Boston on their website, and there were 3 documents. One was this, Wishes and Rainbows comic book. It was a remake of a 1981 comic book about a little girl who lives in a world of no color and finds color and brings it back to the town. And it was a way to look at why we need gold in our system. And they even talk about gold. And they need the gold and sunlight for the system to work. Colored flowers, the petrodollar, all that stuff is encapsulated in this crazy comic book. This is what I based the last, 15 years of my research on. And it is telling this is the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston, mind you. And the amount of information given here on the need for scarcity, need to go back to a gold standard, and the bad guys. Here's the grandma, which is Arthur Burns, the head of the Fed, and Roota, who is Alan Greenspan, talking about how you need to go back to a gold standard. It is amazing when you read this comic book. And they even have stuff on 9/11 in here. And then on 9/11/2008, 1 year and a half after the comic book was released, is when the good guys tried to take down the bad guys, and they got bailed out. Kicked the can another 10 years till 2019. All they do is talk about gold. This is the scariest part. Now, this is a Fed comic book from the Federal Reserve to be read to little kids. Because the people who live in Colorland are very big and might accidentally step on any pebble person who visits, all our people are afraid to go there. And besides, nobody knows how to get to Colorland. Some say you can get there through the caves near Cobblestone Canyon, which is the Grand Canyon, where they had all the gold. And then Roota, Alan Greenspan, says, I'm not afraid, Grandma. I often play in those cases. Someday I will find a way back to Colorland. And he did that by creating computer programs to create the monetary system we live in today, ultimately to blow it up. This is the Fed. This comic book came from the Fed. The same day they put out this. They're all on the same page. That page is now gone, but 2 of them had gigantic red exclamation points, like 3 times the font. Red exclamation points on the Fed website, Fed Boston website. And this is the booklet, the Road to Roota is the booklet that goes with the Wishes and Rainbows comic book, and it talks all about the need for money, the need for gold in a monetary system. It's amazing. All this stuff from the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston, which is the complete anti-gold. These are the good guys versus the bad guys within the Federal Reserve. But something they don't talk about on that same day, January 1st, 2007, this was posted with the other 2 comics. And it's a little pamphlet they first put out in 1987 called Banking Basics. They redid it and put it up, and you can see throughout this little pamphlet exchanging gold for fiat money, putting gold coins in the piggy bank. It talks about the crashing of oil. Did we see oil crash? Yes, we did. The crashing of the housing market. And then this. Look at that. This is the Federal Reserve Bank. Here's a girl with 19 gold coins. You think, oh my God, if someone had 19 gold coins, that's so much money. Well, not if there's millions of tons of gold available and ready to be used as coinage in the United States of America, because they've been planning this for over 100 years. This is what the future is going to look like. And my favorite part of this is the 2 articles on the crashing oil price and the crashing housing prices, which is all about Evergrande. Why do banks fail? Gusher National Bank. That was the attempt to take down the banks with the minus $40 slam in oil. Didn't work. And then you have the GATA picture reversed. Remember the GATA picture, the gold antitrust action picture with all the GATA guys charging the Fed building cloaked in darkness? I have it way over there in the corner. Anyway, this is completely opposite. Look, the door's open to the Fed. Squeezed in between this is this. Why else do banks fail? Bedrock Bank gets too big too fast. This is Evergrande. Bedrock's bank's new president was determined to turn his bank into the region's biggest lender. Bedrock's loan officers got the message and started making as many loans as they could for condominium developments, shopping centers, office buildings, and high-priced suburban housing developments. Loan applications were not always checked as closely as they've been in the past, and some of the loans were approved more quickly than they had been in the old days. But nobody seemed concerned because the local economy was so strong and the real estate values were rising rapidly. Everything seemed fine, everyone was making money, but then the economy slowed down and things took a turn for the worse. The weak economy forced many businesses to close, leaving lots of vacant office space. Real estate values plummeted, and many developers fell behind on their loan payments. That's exactly what happened 1 year and it would be 9 months after this was posted. In 2008, September, that's when the housing crash happened. In the end, Bedrock Bank was losing so much money on its bad real estate loans that the government regulators were forced to step in and close it. The regulators tried to find a buyer for Bedrock, but no other bank wanted to get stuck with all the loans that had gone bad. Eventually, another bank agreed to buy Bedrock if the federal government would agree to keep many of the problem loans. Does that sound exactly what happened in the debacle of 2008? It is. And it's going to happen again. This is coming from the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston. All this stuff has been foretold in all these documents on the road to Roota. Go check it out. Anyway, I also briefly want to talk about Veritasium. Everybody's contacting me saying, "Oh, Bix, Reggie's going to destroy the crypto market because everybody's using his IP." Reggie's not going to destroy the crypto market, but yes, everybody's using his IP if they're violating it. All the DeFi violates Reggie's IP. And everybody's like, the guy from Digibyte came out and wrote this ridiculous rebuttal. Digibyte was around before Veritasium. Veritasium is not related to Digibyte at all. Now, if Digibyte wants to do something with peer-to-peer asset transactions, where you link Digibyte to an asset, yeah, they'd be violating the IP. But all the DeFi has violated the IP. And remember, this is not all of a sudden. Reggie filed this patent back in early 2014, before Ethereum, before all of it. The problem is not Reggie and Veritasium and his amazing invention. The problem is what the SEC did to Reggie. The problem is the SEC criminally stopped him from doing what he was trying to do, which is save America from the criminal bankers. This is the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, went in on the deals he was working with the Jamaican Stock Exchange, and I think it was the German Stock Exchange. He hasn't said who it was yet, but it was one of the biggest stock exchanges in Europe. They were both going to implement Veritasium to get the bankers to fix the problem, peer-to-peer transactions, instead of brokers and dealers scraping criminal money off it. And the SEC, a regulator, came in and shut him down behind his back. He was working with them. And then they destroyed his life. And then they ran away. The people who were doing this quit instantly. And right now, and then just this in December, Reggie finally got his patent from the United States. Japan had already given him a patent. So he's got pretty much the whole world saying, "Oh my God, what does this mean?" Well, I created my DeFi coin on my own. No, you didn't. You were late to the party. Reggie did it in 2014. But Reggie's willing to work with anybody who comes to him and says, hey, well, he's going to go to them, and he's got a great case. I don't know how deep this can go. But you definitely want Veritasium in your portfolio. And I can guarantee you Gary Gensler will use this. Will use Veritasium as a tool to take down a lot of the cryptos. So you got to be in the right cryptos for the right reasons. Think use case. As far as Theta and Theta fuel holders, I don't know if Veritasium infringes on that patent. And I would highly encourage the Theta Labs management to work with Reggie to understand what he patented back in 2014. And if they infringe on that patent, to work with him. He's more than willing to work with anybody in the crypto space who wants to use his technology. So, yeah, XRP is obviously the joke in the room. But hey, that's for the patent lawyers to figure out. And I forgot the guy's name, the Digibyte guy, completely clueless. His rebuttal was completely clueless. He obviously didn't even read Reggie's patent. No, I don't think Digibyte infringes on the patent of Veritasium. Digibyte, the cryptocurrency. Now, when you want to do something with it, if you attach it to assets and try to use it that way, yes, that infringes upon Reggie's patent. But the guy who wrote it was just, I know he's the Jared guy, whatever his name was, clueless. And I would highly recommend anybody who's doing peer-to-peer transactions on a blockchain to read Reggie's patent and say, oh my God, we're infringing on this patent, or let's work with Reggie and figure this out. He doesn't want to take down the cryptocurrency universe. Absolutely not. He was trying to save us from the criminal bankers. But the fault is not that, oh my God, Reggie came and all these businesses are already established in DeFi. The fault is with the SEC. That stopped him from doing what he was doing. DeFi should have been widespread in 2014, 2015. But the SEC stopped that. And that's how all these companies got to jump on board to use Reggie's intellectual property. That's my take. Listen to what Reggie said in this interview in 2014.
What we're doing is, UltraCoin is a derivative layer to allow you to program Bitcoin. Bitcoin's value is in the protocol. Most people concentrate on the little accounts of value, otherwise Bitcoin, what they call coins, and they focus on the price, 400, 600, etc. But the value is the ability to program the coins to take the place of the New York Stock Exchange, to take the place of JP Morgan, to take the place of merchant banks, which is what we've done. We've patented the process. We've created smart contracts that end users can go in their private wallet and create on their own. You design your smart contract, you create a letter of credit, you trade over 10,000 tickers for the exposure of Google. You could short JP Morgan, you can go long the Korean won. You could do all
really
this.
Hate JP Morgan, right?
Not about hate, it's business. Business is business, right?
I don't want to put them out of the door.
It's business, not personal.
The banks are going to hate you, full stop.
It all depends on how the banks look at it. Because I think we're first to market in the technology, and we've patented it. If the patents are granted, which I'm very sure they will be, then the banks have to come behind us with this new technology.
There you go. 2014. I love the JP Morgan stuff. Yes. Everybody needs to wake up. Everybody needs to look at their portfolio and say, okay, which cryptos are going to be working with? Like Ethereum. I don't even know how deeply. I know all the entities that are on Ethereum are using Reggie's patent. Like Reggie Middleton runs Veritasium on Ethereum. He's more than willing to work with everybody. But he's not willing to give up his intellectual property. And don't blame him. Blame the people who did it, the U.S. regulators, which is now headed by the king of crypto himself. I just blanked on his name. Gary Gensler. Don't underestimate Gary Gensler. He's not working with the good guys, I don't think. Obviously, he wanted to be Clinton's chief of finance, which is the Clinton campaign. Just, hey, I don't know how deep Gary Gensler goes in the cabal that is the bad guys, but clearly they wanted someone to head of the SEC and probably the CFTC too. I think the SEC and CFTC will be merged to be savvy on cryptocurrencies. So make sure you pick the right ones. I know it's difficult. What do I recommend? Litecoin as a means of exchange. Theta and all the Theta Fuel and T-Drop, which is coming soon. For the future of the internet, we absolutely need Theta. Veritasium, obviously, for what I've been talking about, DeFi coin. And then, people who I say choose coins with people that work with Reggie if they're using his IP. That's my take. This is Bix Weir, roadtoroota.com. I'll talk to you later.
Well, you start with Bitcoin and you know nothing. You make your first wallet and you think you got something. Secure your private keys and you don't. All your coins will be gone. Now you're a coiner and it's time to learn all. From banking tech to social net, the cryptos are hard. But you gotta get your feet wet, gotta get your mindset for change. And it's the way of the crypto warriors, changing our world day by day. The way of the crypto warriors, can't rely on the bankers, no way. The way of the crypto warriors, after all the crazy politics fade away, you got something to say. Live a crypto warrior way. There's Kenny Bozak, he'll show up in your town. The fiat in his pocket, always dressed like a clown. But he pulls out his phone, always pays for what he owes in crypto. Big old John Kim erases all Charlie's doom. Satoshi lied his feeling right with John in chat rooms. And he takes care of Litecoin. We know it's the right one for change. It's the way of the crypto warriors, changing our world day by day. The way of the crypto warriors, can't rely on the bankers, no way. The way of the crypto warriors, after all the crazy politics fade away, you got something to say. Live a crypto warrior way. Well, let me tell you about my friend. His name is Bitcoin Ben. A truck driving man, everybody loves him. And he's spreading the word, he shares what he heard, secret plan. And there's Snippy by Joe, can't miss the J-Snip show. From Psych Investor, Treasure Chest, he goes on the know. He teaches us tech, cause he's seen a few wrecks, so go slow. It's the way of the crypto warriors, changing our world day by day. The way of the crypto warriors, can't rely on the bankers, no way. The way of the crypto warriors, after all the crazy politics fade away, you got something to say. Live a crypto warrior way. Cause everybody wants to be a hero. Everybody has dreams of a better day. But if everybody knew we could change everything that we do, then everybody live a crypto warrior way. And everybody live a crypto warrior way. And you can live a crypto warrior way.
Yeah! That was great.